Rumours are swirling this week that Rocksteady's next game is indeed a Batman Arkham game. As always, when something isn't officially confirmed, approach with caution until WB and Rocksteady officially reveal their next project. This comes courtesy, however, of industry insider Nick, who is well connected and has got multiple things correct in the past. He was quoting a tweet about a dream next developer for a Batman game, and he says, quote, "Not sure which studio people's dream is, but I heard Rocksteady are back making it. I also think Sony are trying to money had it, lol," end quote. Now again, until we know it's Batman, confirmed by the source, you should always be skeptical. I've spoken in the past about what kind of game I'd love to see from Rocksteady, whether that be Teen Titans or the obvious Superman game, but if Rocksteady going back to the Bat, there's a few different things that I'd love to see from them. Obviously, as is the case with everything on the internet, this has annoyed a few people. And look, I get it. DC has got such a plethora of incredible characters for video games to dive into, and I feel the same way. But Rocksteady going back to the Bat, it actually does make sense. Rocksteady know the character and arguably have one of the greatest interpretations of Batman. And Suicide Squad was a big disappointment, both critically, but more importantly for WB, financially. And Batman fucking sells, alright? So, to go back to him, it just makes complete sense. So, let's say this is true, that they are making a brand new Batman game, whether that's Arkham or elsewhere. What do I want to see from it? Because they can go in so many different directions that could be interesting, even where we've had so many Batman games in the past. First of all, one of the more important factors is that we do not know how Suicide Squad is going to wrap up. We know Batman is going to come back, and that will probably beat Brainiac with the League. That's just good old comic book shenanigans. But where do we go after that? Do we continue the Arkhamverse? Does it set after the events of Suicide Squad? Because even then, there's plenty of unfinished business. One route that could be fascinating is dealing with the consequences of the events that happened in Suicide Squad and the aftermath of it. How Gotham and the Bat family have lost trust in Bruce, and the friction that the events of Suicide Squad have caused, even if it wasn't Bruce. We know that he either killed or seriously hurt Robin from the bloodstained cowl in the Metropolis Batcave. They could do some really interesting work in rebuilding Batman's relationship with his family, with Gotham, and trying to become a symbol of hope again for Gotham. One direction that, if they were to go this route, I would really love to see is that outside of the comics, I feel like we never really get great Bat family stories. Even in the Batman Arkham game so far, we've had Robin and Nightwing and little chapters here or there, but they've always been relegated to side missions and side content outside of obviously what happens with Red Hood in Arkham Knight. I want them to become an integral part. The dual combat system in Knight to this day is fantastic, and I've always thought that outside of the comics there is such a lack of great Bat family stories. So to have Bruce come back and have to deal with the consequences of what happened in Suicide Squad, regain the trust of Nightwing, Jason and Tim, Robin if he's still alive, and build a story around all of that. Even with Gotham Knights, I think Gotham Knights was a bad Bat family story. Because it wasn't a Bat family story. It was a Batgirl or a Nightwing or a Robin story. There was no real emphasis on the Bat family, at least to me. And speaking of Gotham Knights, I know that we had a Court of Owls story in Gotham. But a Court of Owls story in the Arkhamverse, like picture it, while Bruce was gone and all the shenanigans that happened with the Suicide Squad and the Justice League and Brainiac, the Court of Owls were strengthening their grip on Gotham so that they could maintain and complete control while Bruce was out of the city. I think that could be a fantastic way of doing it. Having Batman grapple with the fact that Gotham wasn't what it once was, and now there's someone else controlling it from the shadows and has been all of this time. If we're continuing immediately after the events of Suicide Squad, I'd love to see it go in that direction. There's a lot that they can do, both emotionally and with the dynamics of the characters. Even with the amount of Arkham characters we've had, Batman's rogue gallery is so big. There's still lots of characters that could be promoted to centre stage. Yes, it would be a little weird to not have Kevin, but Roger Craig Smith was terrific in Origins, and I expect to see a similar standard in Batman Arkham Shadows. I trust him to follow Kevin's legacy with his own interpretation. But a Batman trying to regain the trust of Gotham, and maybe even throwing Hush back into the mix, that whilst Bruce Wayne was gone, Hush has been doing all these little shenanigans, and that now he's back, Hush is still continuing to diminish and destroy the reputation of both Bruce and Batman. And that could be really cool, in the Bat family not knowing whether to trust Bruce, and whether it's Bruce doing all these horrible things or it's actually Hush. I think those kind of dynamics could be really cool. What feels like maybe the more likely scenario, however, is a Batman Arkham Beyond. Batman Arkham Beyond could act and would probably feel like a reset. For as much as a game following Suicide Squad could work, Beyond feels like a soft reset for Rocksteady and an Arkhamverse. Should their next game even be a continuation of the Arkhamverse at all? My only issue with a game set immediately after Suicide Squad is Batman Arkham Knight is Batman perfected. There is not much more that I think Rocksteady can really do with that character that they haven't already perfected. So what do you build upon? Like, I play Batman Arkham Knight every single year, and to this day, it plays as good as any action game in video games. Free flow combat just absolutely sings, man. Especially on a high-end PC, just buttery smooth. I think Batman Arkham Beyond could provide a new opportunity to reimagine the gameplay. I don't think they should forsake free flow combat or what they've got going with the Predator system, but I think that Beyond could provide new opportunities to innovate upon that, with new tech, that futuristic feel, and how that might evolve with Batman as a playable character. You could really lean into the more future aesthetic of the game. It would also allow you to bring back remnants of villains that have already been done in the Arkhamverse. Though please, anyone but Joker as the main antagonist, yeah? Now, who will play Batman? Would it be Terry? Would it be Damian? Or would you just be an older Bruce? There's a few ways you could take that. What I think would potentially be the most exciting part of all this is a neon, cyberpunk, future-looking Gotham. Arkham Knight's Gotham still looks fucking incredible, and that was built on Unreal Engine 3 for Christ's sake. Suicide Squad's Metropolis is a perfect recreation of Metropolis with so much love and care. So, to see a futuristic Gotham under Rocksteady's talent would be remarkable. But also, the movement tech of it all, the glide and the Batmobile, oh, you can just imagine it. I wouldn't even be shocked to see some kind of Batwing or some kind of innovation on Batman's vehicles as it is. You can just imagine how that futuristic tech and futuristic design and aesthetic could really drive home that feeling of a fresh Arkham game. They're just two different directions I could see it or would like to see it going. Ultimately, they could just do another Batman game. Like, forget the Arkhamverse and do a wildly different take on Batman. You could do Gotham by Gaslight, you could set it in the 90s, you could do anything that just takes it far and wide away from the Arkhamverse, in a way that kind of Gotham Knights did. Would they do that? I'm not too sure. The Arkhamverse is essentially Rocksteady's baby at the end of the day, so to do a new Batman game outside of the universe that they've created and is so iconic to them, I don't know how much sense that actually makes. I think whatever it is, it just has to feel different. It can't just be back to Arkham Knight because that's Batman perfected. It's also why I'm not a game dev at the end of the day because A, making games is incredibly fucking hard. B, how do you improve upon perfection? I know people had complaints about Arkham Knight with the story and the overuse of the Bat Tank, but as for its core gameplay, of the way you could attack stealth encounters with swift aggression or slowly stalk and strike from the shadows, and the ultimate chaining of gadgets, moves and attacks in the free flow combat, I don't know how you can improve upon that. It's like Spider-Man 2 giving Peter symbiote abilities, and then how do you then top that in Spider-Man 3? I really don't know what they can do to expand upon it. Another possibility that is worth considering is what if they're making a The Batman game from the Matt Reeves universe, or a new Batman game for the DCU version of Batman. I still don't know how to feel about this. I know James Gunn mentioned having video games set within the DCU, but I've always thought if you're making a product around a superhero, you don't want to feel constrained or restricted that you can't use these villains because they're going to be here down the line. And you have to make sure that it ties in here, or any kind of like story beats like that. I've always thought video games are just best being in their own little universe, and you can do whatever you want with the creative confines of all that. I just don't want that feeling of restriction, and the same applies for the movies. Like, I don't want games to do something and then the movies can't explore that down the line. I think it can all wind up too complicated, especially with how long modern day AAA video games take to make now. As for little small asks that I would like to incorporate in a future Batman game, more suit swapping in the game rather than the actual menu so that you can kind of do it on the go, and if there are alternate playable characters, let us free roam as them, man. But again, this is all just speculation for something that isn't even confirmed. But yeah, I thought I'd make a video on what I'd like to see from a new Batman game, whether that's Arkham or just a Batman game in general. But now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with anything that I've said? Would you like to see a Batman Arkham Beyond? Would you like to see the kind of the aftermath of Suicide Squad explored? Or do you have your own ideas on what you'd like to see from a future Batman Arkham game? Do you want the Arkhamverse to continue, or do you just want them to bin it off and start afresh? I'd love to hear from you. I'd also appreciate you dropping a like on the video, and hey, if you're after coverage on Arkham games, superhero games, know that I've got you covered, so maybe consider subscribing. We talk about it a lot around here, so yeah, I'd love for you to stick around. All my socials will be linked in the description down below, so if you love some bad comic book opinions, you will definitely find those there. Otherwise, I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains, and I'll catch you in the next one.